With all that said, I would not pass up the opportunity to invite all the smoke boys right here onto this show to address me directly. At least one of them took me up on that offer. My guest is an NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors and now hosts the popular All the Smoke podcast, along with co-host and fellow NBA champion Steven Jackson, a.k.a. Stacks. He also has a new reality show called The Barnes Bunch. Please welcome my man, the one and only Matt Barnes. Matt, what's going on, man? How are you? How's everything?
I'm well, man. Thank you for having me.
First of all, let me get this out the way first. You know, I got mad love and respect for you. I took no offense to anything that you said. You my man, you know that. We could have differences or whatever. There's plenty of times that we've had differences in the past, and you have let me know what your opinion has been. I brought you on television to express your difference of opinion with me, and you educated me. I got a whole different attitude about weed these days, Matt Barnes. I got a whole different attitude about weed because of you. But listen. I listen to y'all get at me, and I must tell you straight up and down, while I took no offense to what you said, I took big time offense to what Stacks said. And when I see Stacks face to face, I'm going to tell him. We talk over the phone, I'm going to tell him. It don't matter to me, you know that. But while I got you on this show, explain to my audience your issue with what I had to say, and then I'll respond.
And again, Stephen A., I love that we're able to do this because I think you brought up early on that, you know, we can disagree without disrespecting, and we've done that a few times. And I think that only educates both of us and educates our audience and makes this alliance stronger. With that said, the Trump situation, I saw the Trump situation, obviously apologized and have since kind of clarified what you meant behind it. But at the same time, you know, I'm first of all, we're sports focused, and that's where I started. And then, you know, I crossed over into politics, 4 or 5 years ago. And that's a slippery, dangerous slope. And I see that you're transitioning because I do think you're more than just obviously a sports analysis. So I love the crossover, but at the same time, I think, and you understand how much power comes with our voices and how we live in a day and age where everyone will stick to a single word or a single sentence and either twist, flip, or whatever. For this particular Trump situation, you know, saying that, you know, when he said that, you know, that he can relate to the Black community, with the harassments and this and that, and you stamping that almost gives him a victim card. Trump has been someone who has abused his power pre-office, during office, and post-office. His decisions that he has made have put him in certain situations. And I just think it's such a slap in the face to the Black and brown community when we give him a pass on everything, really. You know what I mean? Like, no one's perfect, and we're not here to debate who you should vote for, because none of that, because all these guys are a little crazy. But I just think that first and foremost really kind of made a lot of people say, like, hold on, just because this dude is being harassed and arrested and has some legal issues that we should relate, or because he's making some cool sneakers, we should relate. And I just think that's such an underhanded slap to the minority community. So if you want to address that, and then I guess we can go to the Russell Westbrook stuff.
Well, let me address that first of all. First of all, based on the way you took it, I absolutely understand why you or any Black person would be offended. I damn sure would have been offended if that was the way I took it. What happened was I was on the air with Chris Cuomo a half hour earlier on News Nation. 45 minutes later, I was on the air with Sean Hannity on Fox News. And we know that Fox News is right-leaning and News Nation is more so left-leaning, not as much as MSNBC, but nevertheless, that is the case. What Sean asked me was about Black Trump supporters, not about the Black community. He said there are Black Trump supporters out there. Biden is losing support amongst some Blacks. He's losing support amongst some Latinos. He's losing support even amongst women in the suburbs, et cetera, et cetera. Why do you think that is? And it was piggybacking off of Trump saying recently, the Blacks who do support me, because we know 90% of us do not support him, and I'm one of those people who's been on the air religiously reminding everybody of 4 indictments, 91 counts, 2 impeachments, Lord knows what else, and ain't no way in hell I think we should vote for him, because I think that he's going to cause civil war in this country. I've said that repeatedly over and over and over again. So when Sean Hannity asked me that question, what I was speaking to was the few blacks who do support him. This is what they're saying to him. He is right about what they're saying to him. But this is how everybody took it. So because they took it that way, I came out and said, whoa, my apologies. I ain't mean it like that, y'all. This is what I was trying to say. But I was like, with the understanding, I've been on the record countless times on every damn platform you can imagine saying, I don't think this man is somebody that can be supported because this brother's going to cause civil war in our country.
But
That
even
was
with
my
that
position,
said,
man.
even with that said, as much as you have stood on what you said in the past, that one single sentence or one single edit, clip, moment with the guy from Fox News, everyone will say, forget everything he said now. Look where he's at now. You know what I mean? Forget what he said in the past. Look where he's at now. So again, I applaud you from a standpoint of obviously meaning something a certain way. It was taken another way, because it's hard to apologize in this space. You know, whether we're talking politics, whether we're talking sports, it's kind of a pride thing. And there's not very many who do. You know what I mean? Obviously, you have takes that move weight and move the needle and push the bar. You know what I mean? So when you say, again, when you speak in particularly, because I look at you as kind of, you're the head of this game right now that we're all sports media is in. And, you know, the power of your words to sway, to take money away from certain situations, like your words are heavy. You know what I mean? I remember back in the day when Oprah said something when I was younger about, you know, not eating meat and how the meat companies, you know what I mean? So there's certain people in this culture and in this world, when they say something, it moves. So for you to, again, mean it one way, stand on stuff in the past, and then this be taken a certain way, and to be able to, you know, correct your wrong and apologize, I definitely commend you for that. But again, not knowing the whole context, not knowing the earlier 30 minutes with Como, and then 45 minutes later with who you were talking to, when we see edits, because we watch stuff in edits now, unfortunately, we don't take the time to watch whole things. So people always, there are things that are taken out of context, and for it to be taken out of context and you stand and apologize, I definitely commend that.
Well, listen, man, like I told you before, this ain't the first time you've called me on the carpet for something that I've said. When I've disagreed with something that you said, I've called you on it. But I also picked up the phone and called you. I let you know I was going to say something. We holler at one another. And by the way, one of the boys was Stacks that used to do that. Yet he on the air with you the other day. I can't even tell you how pissed I am with his ass. I ain't going to lie to you. I mean, I can't wait to see him, because it's like, wait a minute. We've been cool for years. Years. Oh, yo, Stephen A. bumped that. Hell with Stephen A. saying some bullshit like that. What, you know, I ain't the smartest dude in the world, but I'm the king of common sense. Well, wait a minute. If you got something to say, you know my number. You got something to say, you want to make sure. Because remember, you didn't go where he went. You disagreed with me. He sat up there and said, I'm not messing with Stephen A. no more. Like I betrayed my race. I betrayed people. And I'm like, none of us are perfect. You ain't perfect, Matt. I ain't perfect. I think it's safe to say Stacks he ain't perfect either. What nerve? What nerve? And I'm like, I thought that he went entirely too far, and I thought, and I admire you and respect you for coming on this show, because you are my witness. Did I not reach out to both of y'all and invite both of y'all on this show? And Stacks was the one that didn't answer. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I mean, I know, and this is not to make excuses, and I'm looking forward to you guys actually having that conversation, because you guys have had differences in the past and not agreed, and have been able to talk through them. I know he's out in Virginia right now coaching the Allen Iverson game and kind of doing the whole camp. But again, I definitely think that's something you guys need to have a conversation about. You know what I mean? We are a team from all the smoke, but we're also individuals and grown men. And as I said in that part, you know, I got a lot of love for Stephen A. I don't agree with them. Jack had a different approach, and that's Jack's approach. And I think that's what makes us such a good duo, is because we can have different takes and go against each other, or have similar takes but just take different routes to get there. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to speak on how he feels or what he thinks or what you guys should conversate about, but I definitely think that, you know, a conversation needs to be had.
I had people looking at me and going like this, man, what the hell you going to talk to them for? What you reach out to them for, man? You know what? You got your platform. They got this. That's just giving them some shine. Here's what they don't realize. I want you to have shine. I think Matt Barnes is great, and I want you to be successful. Stacks is my man, been my man for years. I want him to be. I want y'all to win. I don't give a damn how I'm doing. Guess what? Better or worse, I'm a root for y'all, and I've been that guy. So to me, it ain't about his opinion. It ain't about his opinion about what he thought I said or whatever, Matt. It was the writing me off. And I'm like this. If you try to write me off, then you were never down with me to begin with. Good riddance. Bump it. I don't give a shit. And that brings me to the whole Russell Westbrook situation. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. Ain't no way I'm wrong about this. But I'm going to give you an opportunity first, Matt Barnes, because you got at me. Stacks got at me. Stacks called me a snitch. A snitch. I'm gonna show him the definition of Webster's dictionary, what the hell a snitch is. The brother from Port Arthur, Texas. You know what the hell a snitch is. That's the weakest BS I've ever heard come out of his mouth. But that's neither here nor there. What did I do wrong with Russell Westbrook in y'all estimation? You give me your thoughts, I'm gonna give you the facts.
So from that's what I need. I need the facts. From my understanding, from what I saw, the clip I saw in the conversation I saw, again, giving him props, giving him respect, recognizing his greatness. I just think on the flip side, and maybe it was the energy in which the way you presented it, like, God damn it,
okay,
he needs to be, he wants to be, I want him to be. And that was kind of the energy you were getting up. But when I look at it from a former player, and people don't know, like, I remember early on, Stephen, I'm out in Philly in 03. When you're kind of getting your feet wet and AI is your guy. So I've seen the progression, the growth, all this, and to where you are now. But like I said, I just think you're one of the people who has come up and been so close to us as players, us as athletes, and us as men off the court. In the moment, it went and you said it, but I'm thinking like, damn, like Stephen A is, to me, and even if because when I read through the comments, I know everyone does it. It's journalistic. You just wanted to know the outcome. Maybe it was the energy, maybe it was the wording, but to me, I'm just like, damn, I felt like that was out of pocket, because if anyone that hasn't played should know how we feel, it's you. And the fact that you went over there almost trying to stamp, like, goddamn it. And I'm not even validating what Russ did. To me, Russ says, I applaud Russ from a standpoint of Stephen A. He's going to go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's done some things that only he's done in the league, and he's had to reinvent himself. And not everyone from his stature and his level have been able to successfully kind of reinvent themselves and buy into a situation. And I think if one athlete kind of in the last 10 years has taken a lot of hell, obviously it's Braun, but I think Russell Westbrook and the negativity and the negative energy has come right behind him. So again, not defending what he was doing. I think he's bought into his role. Maybe he's a little too physical. Maybe it's this, but that's what he is for this Clipper team now. He's a dog. He's a thug. He has to kind of play that. Let me take that word thug away, because people take that wrong. He's kind of the dirty work guy. He's similar to what I had to do in my career and what I did in my career. Mm-hmm. So I felt like, with all that being said, obviously what he did in the game, again, I'm not condoning what he did in the game, but I think maybe it was the energy in which you went to the league office, like, why is this dude not suspended? What was your, like, I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and particularly athletes that mess with you, because like I said, if there's anyone who hasn't played, that should kind of have an understanding of how we feel in our vibe from where you came from. And I see it from the beginning when in Philly, like I said, you should know. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was, that was my point of view on that.
Before I give you the facts about what happened, me and you go back more than 20 years.
Yep.
Has any athlete, you or anybody else, ever, one time, been in a position to call me a snitch about anything? Ever?
I personally have not. I can't vouch. I can't stamp it.
Never happened.
That's not my opinion.
Come on now. We know the code. We know where it's from. You know, if you're doing something on public consumption on a basketball court, there ain't no damn snitch. Stuff that go on off the court. How many times in our lifetime you've seen me run across a player, including yourself and others? I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't seen nothing. Ain't none of my damn business. I got nothing to say. You understand? It's understood. It's understood. So Stacks using that word, we going to have a discussion about, I don't give a shit if it's in Atlanta. I don't care, LA. Wherever we meet up, we going to have that discussion. He out of pocket with that. He crossed the line. Having said that, let me give you the facts. Let me be very, very clear. I'm unapologetic. I thought Russell Westbrook should have been suspended. Ain't nobody apologizing. I'm not backing up from that one. I thought he should have been suspended. It was for Kawhi to be hurt. crystallize this for you, and I'm giving you all the facts. So Russell Westbrook goes out there. He damn near clothesline one dude, even though he was going for the ball. But you know how the league is today, and they could have clotheslined it. And then he's sitting up there gauging the histrionics, acting like he ain't even touched the dude. You know what I'm saying? When you clearly knocked him aside his head, albeit unintentionally, right? Then after he does that, he's knocking Luka Doncic to the floor, like you said. We know this is a stars league. You know how protective the NBA is for the stars today compared to yesteryear, right? Then at one point, you swing his arm around. You could have dislocated his shoulder. Remember, I'm a Knicks fan. Why Julius Randle out? Julius Randle out with a separated shoulder, out for this damn season, okay? So I took that in consideration. Then after that, Luka Doncic comes over to you, like, please, you shove him. PJ Washington shoves you in the back. You turn around, you shove off a referee. You push PJ, right? You get ejected from the game. I said, what the hell is he doing? In today's NBA game, if that's Draymond Green, who, by the way, texted me because he felt it was wrong for me to call the league office because he didn't understand the context that I was coming from. So he agreed with you, right? He was like, I said, yo, had that been you, you out. You out. So what happened is when he gets ejected from the game, it's a Friday. We don't have NBA Countdown that Saturday. NBA Countdown on ABC, previewing the Mavs Clippers game, we got coming on in an hour. They said Russell Westbrook is not going to be suspended. The ESPN is like, okay, well, what's the reason for that? I said, let me make a call. I called Joe Dumars in the league office. Why was he not suspended? They gave me the reason why. I went on the air and said this was their explanation. He lucky it wasn't me because I would have suspended him, but this is the explanation they gave. Makes perfect sense. It's the playoffs. It ain't the regular season. You don't want the officials determining the outcome, but damn it, Russell, with Kawhi Leonard out, how could you even put yourself in that position? And that was the end of it. What I'm saying, Matt, is you are a player. Stacks is a player. I get that. I'm a reporter, not just a personality. I've been covering the NBA for 30 years. We got NBA Countdown coming on. They wanted to know why he wasn't suspended because had it been Draymond or somebody, they might have been suspended. Question asked, question answered, you move on. I got Gilly from Wallow and Gilly going the hell off, losing his damn mind. And I'm like, what? Yo, y'all do a podcast. I literally covered. They said, you don't work for the NBA. No, damn it. I work for the network they got a multi-billion-dollar contract with. Who's covering the damn game? That's my job. Why wasn't he suspended? I didn't call up and say suspend him. I didn't call up and say, I said what I said on TV. I didn't call up and say suspend him. I didn't call up and say you should change your mind.
And I didn't do that. And I'm glad we're getting to hear the full context because to me, it sounds like you were stuck in the middle of ESPN wanting some information and you having a direct line to that information. So the way I took it, and I can't speak for nobody else, the way I took it was you went out of your way to call, because that's the kind of energy he was given. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You went out of your way.
Fair.
Like, why is he not suspended? That's how I took it. So now hearing how the full context of the situation happened, ESPN had a question. You guys are coming on air. You have a direct line to the source. You're calling and getting information to kind of report back to the people. But again, we didn't get that initial explanation.
Right.
And not to even say that you have to give it, because you don't. But understand if it's something that's going to be controversial,
I'm always giving
that line. Yeah, we're going to press that line just like I would expect you to press the line on something else that was some bullshit. So that was kind of, we saw a snippet of the entire situation. Mm-hmm. The world saw that. So I'm thinking like, damn, Stephen A is going out of his way to call the NBA office to see why Russell Westbrook's not suspended. That shit is crazy to me. That's crazy. I think that's how a lot of people
that is crazy if I did it that way. But it's not crazy for me to go on the air and go like this. Your ass should be suspended. I mean, listen, you watch teams, I watch teams, and exactly.
I don't think anyone has a problem with you thinking he should get suspended or not play. Blah, blah, blah. I think the issue was taken when you took that next step, insinuating on the why. But again, now I think the world's going to hear the situation you were in. The network asked why. You had a direct line to the person that can give you the why, and you went and got that. So to me, that's a whole nother context. Again, I initially explained I'm thinking you're just on an off day or chilling and do whatever. Like, yo, why the fuck? Well, he's not suspended. I'm just like, damn, that was out of pocket. But again, getting the full context now, it makes sense. You thinking he should be suspended and saying that, that's fine because you're not alone thinking that. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, we're all thinking you're just on your spare time going asking why this dude is not suspended. And to me, I think that rubbed a lot of former players and some of the public the wrong way.
Well, listen, that's fair. And what I appreciate about you is that you're taking that kind of context and you saying that's fucked up. That requires an explanation, right? I give you the explanation. That's entirely different than Stack. Yo, snitch. Yo, if we were on the corner, he wouldn't have even said something like that. Hell, you talking about? Brothers on the corner talk like that all the time to one another. What if 10 of us were together? How many of us would agree, Matt? How many of us would agree on anything? It could be Trump. It could be Westbrook. It could be anything. How many of us would agree on a particular topic? We certainly would agree about not snitching. I ain't no question about that. But in terms of a difference of opinion, oh, no. We all express ourselves. He's trying to act like somebody would be scared to express himself. I can assure you that is a lie. But here's where I go with this. We live in times right now because All the Smoke is a big time podcast. You and Stack with his crazy ass have done a great job. You deserve a lot of credit. As pissed off as I am with him right now, I'm still very proud of him and the job that he's done with you. I know what he means to you. I know what he means to the show. And damn it, if we never spoke again, I'm still going to have love for him. Let me be very clear about that. But the flip side is that you get to a point where when does your reputation and your history matter? Like I know Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes, I tell everybody this. It's a brilliant brother. Brother smart as hell. Don't think you're going to be some ignorant ass person and come in front of Matt Barnes' face and think you're just going to slide something over his head. You're going to get your feelings hurt because the brother know what he's talking about. He's a smart brother. And everybody know you ain't no damn punk. When does your reputation, when does your history come into effect? Because when I think about the podcast world that we're living in right now, you could read a headline and cats are engaging in condemnation. Not about the subject matter, but about the person. What has happened and how do you feel about what has happened in terms as it pertains to the ease with which folks engage in character assassination?
Stephen A., I think I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think you have a part to play in that. I think other people have a part to play in that from a standpoint of, to me, we used to have a really difficult job, and particularly players critiquing people we used to be brothers with, former teammates, former colleagues. It used to be more about critiquing. Now, I think there's been a line drawn in the sand, and the flip side of it is now, if you say something that's going to garnish clicks, whether you wholeheartedly believe it, whether it's disrespectful, or you know it's going to make good TV, that shit is rewarded now. That shit is rewarded. The loudest, the most disrespectful, sometimes the most ignorant shit is rewarded now. Instead of using our understanding of the game or understanding of the situation to critique without disrespecting. So I think media as a whole, and there's athletes in that too, I feel, that have gone from critiquing, breaking down the game, or doing some stuff like that to character attack. Again, Russell Westbrook is a perfect example of the shit he's been going through the last handful of years. It's far past his game. It's not about his game. They've critiqued his family. They've critiqued the man he is. They've critiqued a lot of other shit outside of what he's paid to do. So I think that media has a big part to play in it. And now it's almost open season because social media and a lot of idiots have voices that shouldn't have voices. And a lot of opinions are thrown and said, and a lot of it is for shock value. Sometimes, sometimes these people feel it, but I just miss the days, and I wish it would steer back in the direction of, damn, we got a tough job and we do have to critique, but we don't have to disrespect this man, or we don't have to disrespect this woman, or we don't have to disrespect this anchor like this. But I think the line has been drawn and it's been crossed, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to getting just critiquing analysts. I think it's always going to be taken, and I'm definitely not saying like you always do this, but I think I said you have done it before, where we've taken shots at individuals as a man or individuals as a woman instead of critiquing their craft or their art?
I respectfully disagree. And let me tell you why I respectfully disagree. Because I've had a cardinal rule my entire career, which has enabled me to cultivate the relationships that I've cultivated. And that is, your personal life is your business and your personal stories are for you to tell. Your professional life, which is what you perform in front of the masses,
Right.
that's subject to scrutiny. Me telling you you played like garbage is not saying you're not a good man. It's
Nothing
saying
wrong with
that
that.
night you played like garbage. You
Nothing
played
wrong with
like
that.
garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing wrong with
It's like when you had cats calling Russell Westbrook, yo, Matt, that wasn't me. I never did that. I know what Russell Westbrook's name mean to him. I heard him talk about his daughter and his children in the stands with his wife. I never said that. What I said was, shooting ain't your strength, bro. Go to the hole. You know what I'm saying? Don't yank no damn 3-pointers. That ain't your game. Don't be in an NBA Finals where you dropping over 40, but you are literally attacking with such vigor as a shooter that the other guys are sitting around spectating, and then when it's time for them to shoot, they ice cold because they ain't touched the damn ball, and now you can't beat Miami. It's stuff like that.
I'm not mad at none of that.
But guys,
that's
what I'm saying, they take it though. But they take it personal, Matt. They take it personal.
And
that's
to
my
me,
point.
That's on the players, because we are in an age with access and money and everything where if you're critiquing the game and they played like shit or they played great, that's the game. But like you said, when you said we're talking about Russell Westbrook and you just addressed, people started calling him Westbrook and messing with his daughters and not saying that was you, but the media, right. Skip Bayless had a big hand to play in that. And that's why Skip, I think, started to backpedal because people are going to eventually Skip was at a point where people was about to backhand him if they saw him in public. And I don't think he knows or realizes, but I think he's kind of backpedaled. So again, it is people here and there that have very powerful voices and voices that move the needle that I feel have crossed that line into disrespecting the man or the woman that instead of critiquing the athlete.
That's right. And that's what I'm saying. I agree with you on that part. I'm just simply saying that ain't never been me. Even when you got somebody like Kwame Brown losing his damn mind, I'm like, yo, I'll talk about your game. Your game. I ain't say nothing about you personally, okay? And I stand on that. But in the end, it's a lot of stuff that goes on in regards. That's a different subject for another day. But you have a situation where you got a partner. And you hosting the show, as brilliant as you are, that damn stack is provocative as hell too. And what I would challenge is, Stack is the opposite. And not just of you, but of me and a lot of other people in this regard. It's always the player. It's always the player on the positive side. Because his attitude is, yo, I want to make sure that I'm protective of the players. I respect that as a former player. But not at the expense of the truth. Yo, bro, if you watching the games like we watching the games, you got to call it when you like you see it. There's winners and there's losers. There's cats that get it done and cats that don't get it done. There's cats that struggle, and then there are cats who choke. Yo, Matt, that's sports. That's sports. And I think that sometimes he's so interested in being seen as having that level of street cred and being a brother that's willing to come to their defense no matter what. The objectivity goes out the window, and then you want to villainize somebody else who is objective when it's our damn job to be objective. What do you say to that?
First and foremost, Jack is my brother. I'm a ride with him till the wheels fall off, but I don't always agree with him. And I think that what makes us and we'll literally go to war with each other for each other. You know what I mean? So let me say that, and I love him. But we have a different opinion and a different approach, and sometimes we can have the same message but different vehicles to get there. Again, I don't want to speak on what he thinks or the why or the reasoning. That's something you guys need to have a conversation with. I feel like again,
we will.
I'm always gonna think players first, but I'm also an understanding and real person. As players, we fuck up too. I mean, I was someone who fucked up a lot on and off the court. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna be, and I don't mind people calling, because I've been called on. I've been called on it by analysts. I've been called on it by former players, and it kind of is what it is. So I have to kind of internalize, okay, did I really mess up over there? Cool. I'm gonna have to accept. I'm gonna take that as man. Did they put a story out there that's not true? No, I'm not gonna ride with that then. So kind of, and again,
Right.
so I translate that into players. If we're critiquing the game, yeah, we got to critique the game, and sometimes it's tough. And people have a problem with me. So you're a role player, and you're critiquing so and so, and he could do this better.
Please, you're a
That's not.
champion.
Come on, exactly. You've never even laced the shoes up, so relax. So again,
There you
that's
go.
when I said earlier on this conversation, being a former player, having to critique is hard. And I feel there are some athletes out here who have been former players that have kind of crossed that line too. And I don't feel like these guys can call the homies they used to play with anymore and be like, hey, what's up? Or what's kind of get the scoop. And, because we all have our inside sources. And to me, I've always valued that more than giving a network kind of what they want.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes the networks want you to go that extra mile for views and clicks. And I've never looked at it that way. When I was fortunate enough to work for ESPN, the 4+ or 3.5, 4 years I worked for them, I was always very content in my space because I knew that I can give you an in-depth analysis from a employer's point of view and throw some analytics in there. But I was never willing to really go out there and disrespect these guys because I know how hard it is to be in their position. Like I was a role player for 15 years. I couldn't imagine what it's like, but I know much more than a regular pedestrian what it's like to be one of these stars. So I've always understood, and not just in basketball, across the board. I think, again, we're in an era now where loud disrespect is accepted instead of critiquing athletes, which what it used to be. So I don't know if it'll ever go back. I don't know if I really answered your question, but I know I touched around it.
You did. You did. But here's the part that I think you're missing respectfully. When you're talking about players, a lot of times you're talking about players against players. So you're taking a side. Like you have people out there that think you're just talking about a player and he's in an isolated bubble. You ain't talking about nobody else. Like for example, when I sit up there and I say Kevin Durant sent KD and Bill and Booker home, was talking shit to them prior to, then did it. You see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. Some people are like, damn, he throwing shade on Kevin Durant. I'm big up in Anthony Edwards. Did you see this, brother?
Well, we live in a day now.
Like
it's not to cut you off, Stephen A., because it's like when you think about the Jordan or the Kobe or the LeBron comparisons, if you love one, you have to hate the other. And that's where social media is giving everyone a voice and having to feel like it's either one or the other. What the Anthony Edwards thing, Anthony Edwards talking the shit and he backed it up. And he sent KD, Booker, and Beal home. That's not disrespecting them. And if they take it that way, that's more on them. That's, like you said, that's giving love to this young bull who's ready to be the face of the NBA once these OG Hall of Famers retire. So, again, I think everything has to be in context and individually how you want to perceive it. You know what I mean? Some guys are a little sensitive than others. Some guys don't give a shit. Some guys care a lot, so it's just to each his own, and every individual reacts a different way. So, again, I think we're all in a tough spot because we are paid good money to give our opinion on shit, and people aren't always going to agree, and that's okay. You don't have to always agree with me, but I feel like we can agree without having to disrespect. Oh, excuse me, we can disagree. We can disagree without having to disrespect.
Right. And remember, you and I have had conversations in the past where I'm pulling you and I are rapping to the side, off air, off mic, off camera, and there's a role that you get to play that I can't, because as a member of this fourth estate, as a media member, I can be as true and authentic as I can possibly be. But in the same breath, there's just certain places that I can't go to because I wasn't a former player. And I know that would be crossing the line. And so it was like, boom, all right, I can say this, but you got to go there because I can't. But you can't go here because this is a place that I can go because I'm detached from that culture, from that locker room, from that fraternity per se, in a way that you're not. So I can go to a place that you can't go either, because if I said it, well, that's just the media. If you said it, it's betrayal of another brother. So all of those things we got to take into consideration as well. I ask you this question, which is harder for you right now? When you think about the career that you have now and the subject matters that you touch on, you are also somebody that I happen to know, you've been on this show, your aspirations to be a politician, being a mayor of Sacramento one day, being a governor, hell with you, being a senator, possibly a presidential candidate. I don't rule anything out with you. As you look, as you discuss this subject with me and what I said about Trump and the stuff with Westbrook, you juxtapose the sports to the political atmosphere. Which do you prefer?
I prefer life, and I pride myself on educating myself as much as I can before I speak, because I feel like all aspects we touch. I mean, I was a former athlete. Great. That was a small part of my life. So obviously I love sports. I'm a father, so I'm indulged in that. I've been through a public divorce, so I've been indulged in that. Politics interests me. At first, it wasn't so much the policy. It was the former mayor of Sacramento, Kevin Johnson, being a former NBA player and seeing him clean up Oak Park, the same streets my auntie had her throat slit and died in the gutter. So I saw that kind of encouraged me to like, man, I don't really know what all this policy stuff is, but I see what he's doing in his hometown, and that's beautiful. So that was kind of where it kind of lit the fire in my late 20s, early 30s. So I like to be versed and understand. I mean, this politic world, and and a lot of people know, it's messy on both sides.
Vicious.
And at the end of the day, this whole entire world, big United States we only have these two guys to pick from. And it's crazy now because before you just used to disagree on policy. Now there's almost a line in the sand. Like if you like Trump, he's a dog whistleblower to hate groups and wants to pardon all the June 6th people and calls, minorities thugs so it's just like, and then on the flip side, you got Biden out there falling asleep on the world. You know what I mean? So it's just like, what do we really have to? And if you're on one side or the other, it's almost like there's real animosity and hate towards the other side. So politics has always been a very slippery slope. But I think to answer your question, I just try to be as versed as I can in life because I feel like I can speak intelligently on a lot of different levels, but that doesn't come with backlash, criticism, or scrutiny. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, some people are going to like it. It's like a referee. Half the people are going to like it, half the people are going to hate it. So it is just what it is. So I just try to prepare myself as well as I could every time I speak on different issues outside of the bubble that people know me in, and try to get my point across.
I want to get your opinion about what I'm going to say about myself, so you understand where I'm coming from, and you'll know for future references with your shows whenever my name comes up, because chances are it'll come up again. I struggle politically. I'm going to be real straight up and down with you. I voted for one Republican in my life. That's Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey years ago, because I thought that the predecessor was a crook, okay? That's it. I've been a consistent voter for the Democratic Party because the number one thing that they've done for black people, in my estimation, was give us access to capital. That's something we don't talk about enough. When we think about things from an historical perspective, spanning the last 50 plus years and what have you, from, civil rights legislation being put into law to other things that have transpired, they've given us access to capital. And there's an appreciation for that, big time, because when you talk about, generational wealth, when you talk about economic empowerment, I think we should look at the Democratic Party as a black community and be thankful for the access to capital. But it's a deeper subject when we think about the times that have changed, some of the things that have been said, used, utilized, et cetera, et cetera. And the biggest thing that I have a problem with, Matt, is I can't stand being transparent in a political sense. I can't stand everybody knowing exactly what I think, how I feel, and how I'm going to vote, because I think that gives one party a license to take you for granted because they know they got your vote, and the other party a license to ignore you and say the hell with you because we don't have your support. And I believe that's what has led to the disenfranchisement of the black community in this country. That's why a lot of times I come across as keeping an open mind, because I want to hear what other people have to say. I want them to know folks are listening, and maybe they'll try to flatter our community to do more for us than they've been doing, whatever side that is. In this day and age, because of Trump and his divisive self, it's almost like we can't take that position, because I'm afraid he's going to cause civil war in this country. Other people feel what they're going to feel about him. And as a result, you got to vote against him or else. You got to vote for him or else. And that divide, to me, is what has us as a community in a quandary, because we're no longer the dominant minority. Those are the Hispanics, the Latinos. We only make up about 13.6% of the population. That's where I'm coming from when I'm thinking in terms of just listening to what other people have to say. If I go buy a house, I go buy a car, I want to inspect it, I want to look at it, I want to decide, as opposed to being transparent with what I'm going to do. And I don't think the times allows us for that level of transparency thinking. Your thoughts?
No. I would agree. It's again, there's been a line drawn in the sand, and it's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you're a Biden person, you're attacked for his mishaps. If you're a Trump person, you are and you're a minority. Like, how can you support someone who is again a dog whistleblower to hate? The Proud Boys. He told them what, stand down and stand by. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, there's just little
Yep.
things he's done. Excuse me, big things he's done to blatantly to disrespect and divide this country. I feel like before Trump was on the ballot,
Totally.
although there was racism, I think it went to a new level of racism when he allowed the people who love him the most to kind of really start having a voice. So I think to answer your question, Stephen A., it's very tough. When I got into this, I feel like in the Black and brown community, we were never meant to have a voice or a foot or a saying in this space. We didn't grow up talking about it at the dinner table. We didn't very few of us very early on, right when we turned 18, were voting, because that's not something we're trying to survive. We're not even thinking outside of our houses and then outside of our communities. But the way I kind of started approaching politics early on was, seeing immediate turnaround, and that's in your local cities and your local states. I think bite-sized pieces are where it's at, because you'll see some turnaround, immediate turnaround, and that'll probably light the ball, light the fuse to want to explore on a higher level. So, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in this, this presidential race. But I just think when I speak on politics, I feel like there's so much you can do on your local city level and state level to see immediate turnaround and kind of just understand what your community is about, what your community needs. And that's where I encourage people to go out and spend most of their focus. The presidential situation, what Trump has caused over these last 8+ years is a complete divide, and it's unfortunate. And I don't see it again. I feel like hate is as big as it's ever been, although it's not like it used to be back in the day. It's hiding out there. It's in the police officers. It's in the government. It's in the courts. It's in the doctors. It's everywhere. It's in the day-to-day people. We probably work with some people who hate us because of the color of our skin. So I just think we're in a bad time, and I don't see it turning around as long as Trump's name has continued to be echoed and muttered in whatever fashion.
I feel you on that. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about my positions before I let you go, my brother? Because I know eventually I'm gonna get a call from you. I don't know if I'm gonna answer Stat call. I don't know, since he didn't answer mine, but I'm gonna answer yours. I'm only playing though. I'll answer.
I got a lot of love for you, Stephen A., and that's also some real shit, because again, our journey is 20+ years, and agree. We always don't have to agree with what each other said, but you've always been somebody who's willing to have that conversation, whether you've been right, whether you've been wrong, whether you feel you've been right and then you found out you were wrong. You're willing to have that conversation. And I just think that's something that people can grow from, because again, I think it's where we're always at each other's necks, whether it's media versus athletes, athletes versus athletes, media versus media, presidential versus, we're always at each other's necks. And instead of understanding that a conversation can change the world, the conversation can solve anything. So I definitely want to salute you, because you've always been willing to have that conversation. I'm always respect that.
I'm always here for you, man. Got a lot of love for you, man. I appreciate you, bro. When how often does All the Smoke on these days, man? How many episodes you doing?
We're every Thursday on All the Smoke Productions YouTube and DraftKings Network. Every Monday we release Unplugged, which is a weekly show spin around the culture. And then Friday night, We TV, 7 p.m. Pacific, The Barnes Bunch. If you miss it there, you can stream it on All Black.
Man, we did. Listen, I watched the episode of Barnes Bunch. You're not bad, bro. I like what I'm seeing, bro. I mean, you got some potential, my brother. You got some potential, no doubt. Oh, by the way, before I let you go, you heard the news. Darvin Ham got fired as head coach of the Lakers. Within the hour.
Great dude. Great dude. The coach has got to be the fall guy. I mean, obviously, I think as a head coach, and I told him that Darvin's my guy. He was an assistant with the Lakers back in the day when I was there with Kobe. But I told him this is going to be the hottest seat he's ever sat on. Good, bad, you're going to be talked about every single day. So I think he's probably learned a lot about himself and where he needs to get better as a coach. But the coach is always going to be the fall guy. It's not going to be, poorly constructed roster. He's not going to be the only fall guy. I think Vogel might fall in Phoenix, and that's going to be another fall guy. You got to start putting more pressure on management to make these decisions, because again, coaches, when I came in the league, Stephen A., Coaches had a lot of power because players weren't making the money they are. Now players are making astronomical money, and the coach will always be the fall guy. So I wish Darvin Ham the best of luck. Good dude.
How did you feel about Anthony Davis? I thought Anthony Davis's comments in the post-game conference sort of sealed his fate. It was like after game 2 where he said we were a bit disorganized. We didn't seem to know what we're doing. When you make that statement, that to me is when I said Darvin Ham is gone. Yeah, I knew it at that moment that Darvin Ham was gone. You know?
I agree, especially coming from a player of his caliber.
No question. I don't think Ty Lue should stay in with the Clippers personally. I mean, he's got 1 year to go. Knowing him, he probably wants out. I don't know if they'll let him out. If Ty Lue was on the market, what's the best situation for him, Phoenix or LA?
Ooh.
Lakers.
Ooh. I mean, I think he would probably want to go to the Lakers. I mean, that's down the hallway. Who doesn't want to?
But I'm asking you, in terms of your basketball expertise. What your basketball expertise, looking at the roster on both squads, what do you think would be the best situation for a Ty Lue between those two selections?
I think both rosters have good teams, but they're bad rosters overall. I would go down the hallway. I would go down the hallway because it's going to be you get more credit and more opportunity, more accolades if you're able to turn the Lakers around than turn the Phoenix Suns around. And he's worked with Bron. You know, obviously Bron's future is up in the air. We don't really know what he's going to do, but he's worked with Bron successfully before. So very interesting. I'm also hearing my brother JJ Redick is getting some nods and one of the most brilliant minds I've ever been around. So definitely looking forward to him for him to land somewhere soon. So it's always going to be a hot seat with the Lakers. I think T. Lue knows that because he's played there and he's been coaching down the hallway for a little while, but he could definitely handle that.
All right. Matt Barnes, love you. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming on the show and talking to me over these sensitive issues. I appreciate you listening to me. Thanks a lot, bro.
No doubt, bro. Have a good day.
All right, you too. The one and only Matt Barnes right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube. You heard what he had to say. You heard what I had to say. It is what it is. I know where I stand. I know what I said. And I understand how it could be misinterpreted. But at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. I get paid to speak for a living. And I have to make sure that I am somebody who is speaking with the level of clarity that my position demands. So I don't have to have these hiccups. My issue, however, was that you disagree with me, which was what Matt Barnes did based on the information that he received. But for Steven Jackson, who's been my boy for years, to sit up there and talk about he don't F with me, to call me a snitch for doing my job. Russell Westbrook was on the basketball court. This ain't something that happened in the privacy of his home. I cover the league for a living. It's my job to speak to the NBA. I didn't call to get him suspended. I already told y'all I thought he should have been suspended, but I didn't call them to suspend him. I mean, for him to talk about me like that, for Bakari Sellers and the D.L. Hugleys of the world, Karen Hunter, my sister. I mean, I've taken a lot of stuff. I really, really have. And I could really, really go in on a lot of people, but that's counterproductive. Because the reality of the situation is I don't know Bakari Sellers at all, okay? In the case of D.L. Hughley, I've met him a few times, but that's my frat brother, Root Dog, Omega Psi Phi all day, every day. I can't believe that he just talked about me like that, but that's all right. You got to live with that. You do what you got to do. That was unfortunate. But Steven Jackson and I go back years. Years. Matt Barnes and I go back, you saw, over 20 years. Draymond Green didn't like what I said. Draymond texted me. That's why I love him so much. He had an issue. I ain't hear from nobody else. I heard from him. He called me. He texted me, rather. Told me exactly where he stood, how he felt, based on the information he received. And Karen Hunter. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I almost cried. I couldn't believe that a person was like a sister to me that I've known for 32 years, that wrapped her arms around me the day my professional career started as a journalist and taught me how to write. Who was behind me when my mother's casket was being lowered into the ground. I could not believe that there were people on her show, her namesake, talking smack about me for 3 hours. You couldn't talk junk about Karen Hunter on my show for 30 seconds. It wouldn't happen. But you know, we get over it. Everybody do what they got to do. That's the way it goes. I've said what I had to say. I appreciate Matt Barnes coming on the show. I appreciate y'all for listening and watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I thought it was very enlightening. I hope y'all found it to be the same.